The NBA is here once again. It is looking like a little bit of a dumpster fire of a slate. A lot of Q tags, one game getting canceled. We're still going to do what we always do here, so strap in. We're going to look at my projections, compare them to one of the industry leaders out there in Stokastic. Look at some ownership along the way as well. We're going to check top values, top projected plays. We're also going to hop to the world of Unabated, check some betting markets, see what the top bets are according to their data. And we'll sip some DFS lineups as well. You guys know the deal. I don't know. I'm just fucking, it's stressful. I had to really, so it was a lot of work before the show. I had to update all the projections myself because Stokastic didn't update their minutes, so I had to figure things out for the Nets and the Mavs, then run a sim, then get here. So it is stressful times here in the NBA. Your Q tag guys for today, some of them won't matter for the DraftKings slate. Two last games on the slate are not on DraftKings, are available on FanDuel, I believe. So the Clippers game in particular is going to matter a lot more for FanDuel people than it does for DraftKings people, unless you're playing the late slate. You got James Harden Q tag, Porzingis Q tag. They are both in that late slate. Bradley Beal, Drew Holiday, Jalen Williams, the wing one for the Thunder, not the center one. Jalen Johnson, Klay Thompson, Al Horford, Karis LeVert, Gary Payton II, Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes, two Mavs there to top it off. Probable Trae Young, doubtful Cam Johnson, Ben Simmons. You also have no D'Angelo Russell today for the Nets. It is a messed up Nets rotation as a result. Let me see what we're going to get projection-wise here, because I really had to change things around in a way where I'm going to have a different of a look than I had just a few minutes ago. Let's switch over here, share this tab. Actually, let's resort this by projection. Derek Lively out for a few months, it looks like, which is odd because he was still Q-tag on the injury report. So that is sometimes the nature of how things go in the NBA, but usually the right hand and the left hand at least talk a little bit. That's not the case today. On the slate, though, and again, this is including the FanDuel games as well, so James Harden won't matter for DraftKings today, will matter for FanDuel. We got James Harden, top projected player in the slate right now. This is not accurate. I didn't have time to update the Clippers minutes, so really, if you're a FanDuel person, you kind of can throw it out. Harden's questionable right now. I wrote him up for the DraftKings Network, the ramifications of things. While I was writing up that article, Norman Powell, Chris Dunn also got ruled out in a game where there's already Kawhi Leonard out, Ivica Zubac out. So if I had to guess, Harden probably sits. Star players in these spots usually don't go because they don't want to get embarrassed getting their ass kicked. Clippers now down to a 12-point dog at home going against the Celtics. So Harden, if he does play, he's a good play. If he doesn't play, then the Clippers are dead, and you're probably going to get more Kevin Porter. But it really doesn't matter for me because I'm not playing that slate. Cade Cunningham, looking pretty good right now. Clippers chalk only on FanDuel. They don't matter for the main slate here. The ones where there's no stochastic projection are the ones that are not in the DK main slate. Cade Cunningham, 51.1 fantasy points for me, 50.2 for stochastic. Getting 26% Cade Cunningham for the field. I got him in 38% of my top 150 lineups. On this slate, he's the only guy that projects over 50 fantasy points. I'm a little bit low on LaMelo, a little bit low on SGA. As a result, I'm getting more Cade Cunningham. I'm going to probably try to balance it out a little bit more than it is currently, but Cade would be my top projected guy as of right now. SGA, Jalen Williams is questionable. J-Dub, that version of it, as the chat pointed out, he's questionable for the Thunder. If he's out, it's going to open things up a lot more for SGA. As it is for SGA, I have him at 49.7 fantasy points compared to the Field's 51.4, stochastics rather, 51.4 projection. Field will play SGA 29% of the time. I got him in 19% of my top 150 lineups. So not a big fade here. Got him pretty comfortable flattening these guys out, but really right now, not a big advantage. It seems like the least owned guy would be the one to play the most. LaMelo at 21% owned, but he's also my least projected here at 49.5. Stokastic has him at 54.4 though. So he's your top price guy in the slate. Despite him being the top price guy, I would have Cade higher. I would have SGA higher in projection. So that's how it looks right now for me with LaMelo. He'll be played by 21% of the field. I got him in 16% of my lineups. I have really no issue playing him overall in a spot too for Charlotte where, like he probably is the way that they stay competitive versus Memphis in a game where they're a 12-point dog. So it's a little bit of a risk to that for sure. But, you have LaMelo, Morant going head-to-head, trading buckets. That seems like a logical expectation in that game. So I have no issue with LaMelo, but he's just pretty low for me, 5 fantasy points lower. And that's with Brandon Miller out today as well. Jason Tatum, that late slate, looks like an okay play. It's a bonus late slate. Kind of skim through those. Anthony Edwards, Şengün, 2 plays here, a little bit less owned, a little bit less projected than the high dollar guys, but still certainly in play here. If you have lineups, you can get both guys in. They're going to look a little bit better. Mark Williams, I'm getting him in 76% of my lineups right now compared to the Field's 39. A pretty big stand for me here in the spot against Memphis. We have seen centers. Not that DVP matters that much, but centers have done well enough versus Memphis the pace up they represent. Mark Williams on the year averaging 1.4 fantasy points per minute. It's actually gone up since Nick Richards has been out, or rather been traded. He's now the center there, playing a lot of opportunity overall, playing upwards of 30 minutes in most games. Last game, I believe he had foul trouble, and then did he get ejected in that game? There's something weird that happened over the weekend with him. Checking popcorn machine real fast. Again, you have to kind of have the Dallas ones with a little bit of a grain of salt because I had to finesse those projections really fast for the show. But I would have him playing 30 minutes, and last time out he played 33.5. Coincidentally versus Charlotte, as I'm looking at right now. So here's popcorn machine. If you're not familiar, rotations tool basically. There's other ones out there like NBA rotations.info, but popcorn machine, I think most people agree is the best. So basically, last game, Mark Williams not a great spot. 13 points, 16 boards. Picked up 2 fouls fast. Then got to 4 fouls. That was it. He got 4 fouls by the halfway point in the first quarter. So despite that, or second quarter rather, despite that, he still played 29.7 minutes. So I think it's reasonable to expect Mark Williams to get you 32, 33 minutes. So I would say for Mark Williams, he's a really strong play. I'm at 43.1 fantasy points today. Stokastic has him at 40.8. 76% ownership for Mark Williams feels a little bit aggressive, but I don't mind the spot versus Memphis. The team total may be a little bit spooky. Memphis is absolutely a better team than Charlotte, but it's a high total game, and I think that Mark Williams should match up well. So I like him a good amount in the spot. Whether he's going against Edey, whether he's going against Clark, doesn't really matter to me. I think he should be able to eat him up sexily. We got Alperen Sengun, talked about him. Jalen Williams, if he's in, a good play, 36% ownership for me compared to the field's 24. Darius Garland, big stand for me as well. 53% compared to the field's 30%. So he's another player that benefits quite a bit as a result of not having Evan Mobley in. Mobley going to be out, I believe, a week were the most recent reports. He averages 1.36 fantasy points per minute compared to about 1.32 for Donovan Mitchell. So straight up, been a better player. Because of the way the rotations work for the Cavs, Garland's played 1,200 possessions without Mobley. Mitchell's only played 550. So a little bit of a sample size difference there. Mitchell will be the one that doesn't get played the most today. You're going to get more Jared Allen played by the field. You're going to get a good amount of Darius Garland played by the field. As you can see here with my exposure and the field's exposures. That said, I think Garland's the best play. Mitchell is more of your tournament pivot for it. But Garland 7,400, he produces really well. Now more opportunity to go around because Mobley leaves a lot of usage left behind. And LeVert's still questionable in that game as well, so that one could matter. And as our guy Robert III pointed out here, Daniel Gafford, I have him pretty highly projected today. Against Stokastic didn't update their stuff in time, so again, a little bit of an aggressive minutes projection for me, or maybe I messed something up in the Dallas rotation a little bit, especially on a short time frame trying to figure it out. But Gafford does look a good play for me, even though I'm not getting a ton of ownership that way. Let's sort for value right now. Again, in particular, any Mavs players you see, any Nets players you see, have a little more of a quizzical eye towards it because of the fact that, or questioning eye towards it, because of the fact that I had to do these minutes myself, and I'm not sure they're correct. The Nets, so I project the Nets right now to have a 9-man rotation today. As a result, I have a lot of guys playing 30 minutes, besides the centers where you do have Day'Ron Sharpe, and you also have, what's his face? You have Nick Claxton, basically splitting 48 minutes every day. Those could go up and down for those two guys, but they're not going to really get more than 48 minutes. Noah Clowney, though, is going to play more 4 overall. Brooklyn with a 9-man rotation, I think you're going to get, and this is my guess here, I have Tyrese Martin being your nominal point guard, even though he won't bring the ball up every time. I have him playing 32 minutes. I have Clowney playing 34. I have Keon Johnson playing 32. Claxton playing 28 with Sharp playing 20. So again, your 48-minute split there. I have Tosan Evbuwan, who my friend Josh Engelman told me on stream one day how to say his name, and I don't fucking recall. I have this guy here playing 32 as your small forward, power forward, because they don't have a lot of guys in the wing left either. I'm not sure that he'll get to 32 minutes, and the projection that Stokastic gives. If he does get that amount of minutes, though, I would have him being a very strong play at a 31.7 projection. And he'd be the best value on the slate then, but I'm not sure that my minutes calculations are right on that. The weird thing with the Nets is they don't allow their guys to play a ton of minutes. Even D'Angelo Russell, crushing yesterday, put up 50 fantasy points after we had a big stand on him here on stream. He still didn't play a ton of minutes there. In fact, they pulled him in the fourth quarter at weird times, not sure if it was for tanking reasons or what, but he was out for a good half of the fourth quarter. Then he came back in with a couple minutes left. The Nets jerk minutes around in a really weird way that even with Tosan here, I don't know what his minutes will be, but I was trying to figure it out. I got into 32 minutes, and it feels not too far off of me, him being a good value. Like, Stokastic will probably put a mid-20s more so, and he'll be more of like a, well, maybe, but I think he gets you to high 20s minutes today. Mo Bamba for your DraftKings late slate / FanDuel slate, filling in for Zubac. I didn't boost his minutes here. I think that's just what, it's actually Stokastic got that updated right. So for Mo Bamba, 21 minutes is the projection. Could play some more. I think he's a little bit in play on FanDuel as a value, but DK late slate would be more the spot you want to play him. We got Daniel Gafford here, top value for me. Despite that, the price tag at $6K, a little bit of a risk here for sure. For Gafford in the situation you are facing a Minnesota team that you certainly could see Dallas go small against, put Kleber, stretch Gobert out. And there's a little bit more risk to Gafford's minutes. So if you give him 30, which I think is a safe estimate based on him playing 33 last game, and then you have no Dwight Powell out there, no Derek Lively. You still have Maxi Kleber taking some backup 5 minutes. I think Gafford gets you to 30 safely. The risk, though, would be that they do go small for Dallas. You see them, I don't even know if they would play at that point. Washington at the 5, Kyrie, Dinwiddie, Clay, Grimes, or Marshall, I think would be the 5-man group. They could absolutely do that just to try to beat Gobert that way. So I think there's risk to Gafford's minutes today playing Gobert. But if they play it straight and just have to play a big man versus Gobert, that's where Gafford could play that 30 minutes. So a little bit of risk thing here. If I got 11% Gafford and the field's not playing them all, I'd be happy with that. But Stokastic's ownership doesn't count basically for Lively being out right now. So that's how that looks. I guess it makes Beekman a great value. So that's the thing, is I don't think Beekman actually gets more minutes. It wasn't even the rotation yesterday, and I don't think he was in the G League. They just had Tyrese Martin coming in for Russell. So I really don't know there's a guarantee Beekman plays unless he were to get the start. But really what's more likely is like you get Tyrese Martin / Keon Johnson / Jalen Wilson playing point guard there. But I would not assume Beekman is going to be a great value play. So James Harden, again, good value here, but that projection's off. Nick Smith is actually a legit value to highlight here. 45% of the field to play him. I got in 47% of my top 150 lineups. Nick Smith is value I feel a little more comfortable about. A, that's Stokastic's minutes projection, not me just trying to figure it out 20 minutes before the show. B, for Nick Smith, he's 3,200, playing a good amount of run lately, shooting guard, small forward. I do think there are pivots to him, in particular Ty Jerome, who should net out a few more minutes, especially if LeVert is out. I think he's 3,400, so he'd be he's point guard, a little bit of a different position. But in terms of the price point, I think he's got a lot more upside because his usage spikes with Mobley not being out there, which is kind of odd. But I mean, it's just there's more usage go around basically for Cleveland. I think Nick Smith is an okay value who's likely going to get starter level minutes. I don't know if he's actually a good play because he doesn't produce that well. I think averages like 0.75 fantasy points per minute. 0.79 on the year, 20% usage, 13% assist rate. It's not bad, but, that's kind of a nothing role, really. But Charlotte's missing enough guys today. You have guys like Tijan Salon not in. There's minutes to go around for a guy like Nick Smith. I just don't know that he's actually good. He's been not a good shooter on the year either. 51% true shooting, 50% free throw. From 3, he's shooting 41%. But then from the field, he's shooting 40%. Probably gets better shooting, I would think, based on the 3-point shooting numbers. But he hasn't been good. So, he's kind of your Caleb Martin approximation, I think, is sort of the best comp. But again, an okay value at 3,200 for sure. Mark Williams, still a good value for me at 7K. Ty Jerome, we talked about him, 3,600 is the salary. There we go. Kevon Looney for your late slate. Again, you have no Draymond for that Golden State game. I guess we haven't talked about it yet, so it's not an again. No Draymond, no Kuminga, no Pajemski. You're missing a lot of guys for Golden State, so Kevon Looney theoretically getting a few more minutes there. Jalen Williams looking like a semi-value here, 23% for me, 10% for the field. Kongwu, his minutes have been up lately, directly taken away from Capella. Actually, should check that real fast. Here's the popcorn machine for Atlanta. Kongwu's starting, Capella off the bench. Capella playing 19.5 minutes. So Kongwu got to 28. The split's getting more pronounced, and now it's not off the bench either. But you are paying kind of a normal price tag now for Okongwu. But still in play, though, with about a quarter of the field being there today. And I'll be at 30%. Jade McDaniels, Santi Aldama, nothing too fun here. Garland, Najee Marshall. Too many Q-tag guys. Yeah, Norman Powell out. We talked about already. But Powell out, Dunn out, Zubac out, Kawhi out. Harden, we'll see. Let's go game by game here. And guys, if you get value out of this one, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We're trying to get to that 1K sub mark before the All-Star game, and it's getting tight here. But it's important. Even if we don't hit the goal, we got to shoot for a goal here. So please hit the like button. Please subscribe. I'm here Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. doing the work here for these slates. Barring holidays with weird slate. I would have done it at Martin Luther King if the games were timed normally and there's actually money on the line for the normal time to do the show. But please do it all here and check out our sponsors, Unabated, $30 off with promo code SPLASH. Get NBA DFS projections. Get also the betting data that we use. Of course, simulation tools you see here on stream coming up about the halfway point of the show. And Stokastic, 15% off. Link in the description for that as well. A promo code SPLASH for both at Unabated and Stokastic. Two great sites. And if you're trying to figure out how to lose less money doing this stuff or just want to get better at it, obviously that'd be the more positive outcome. Then you're going to be in good hands using those sites and hopefully this channel too. Checking chats real fast. On the night slates usually, so I'm listening to all that late game analysis. Yeah, fair enough. I definitely don't pay as much attention to the night slates. I do try to make sure to update my rates and stuff for what I'm showing on screen. So for like Golden State, I put in what the rates look like without Draymond and without Kuminga. But I don't have in haul over it quite as much as the main slate because that's where all my money's going. Like I'll put in 50 entries today into the $5 100K up top one on DraftKings, and that's my run out for the night. Phoenix, 114 implied points. Brooklyn, 101.5 implied points. The good news with Brooklyn is we'll know a lot of the stuff in advance of the slate locking. So if Reese Beekman were to start, you would know that. My guess is that you get Tyrese Martin, Noah Clowney, Keon Johnson, Nick Claxton, Jalen Wilson starting, I think. I'm probably a little bit low on minutes for Dariq Whitehead, who should be back from the G League today, can play enough minutes, I guess, as sort of a pseudo point guard, shooting guard. But Whitehead's actually been good. If Whitehead were to get a surprise start, I would play him, averaging 0.9 fantasy points per minute. If Beekman were to start, I would still play him because he's a 3K salary. But he has been pretty awful on the year, averaging 0.63 fantasy points per minute. Tyrese Martin, visually, I feel like I'm seeing him grow as a player, as somebody I've probably played too much of on a lot of slates where he has been, kind of the last net standing who's got decent usage. He was coming in for D'Angelo Russell in yesterday's game. He wasn't really playing directly point guard, but he was playing some point, taking the ball up court a little bit. For Tyrese Martin, I think he's becoming a better play at shooting guard, small forward. The issue is he's 5,200, so not really a big stand for me, and I really didn't get it. I really didn't get any of these guys in my top 150. But I do think it's possible I get more here if the minutes move around in a more favorable way than the way I distributed them. Even Tosan here was him being a good value because he wasn't really in Stokastic's pool in a ton of lineups. I didn't get him a bunch. But with the minutes I projected here, Tosan would be a much more valuable play as well at 4,100, small forward, power forward, and playing around 30 minutes would look good with him averaging a 0.8 fantasy points per minute and contributing in every category too. He rebounds a little, he gets assists a little, and a pretty good shooter as well, 61% true shooting. For the Phoenix side, not a lot to love here besides Grayson Allen, who looks okay at shooting guard, small forward. He does benefit a good amount from having Nurkic not on the court. That said, he would look better if Bradley Beal, who's questionable as of the last time I looked. If he's out, Grayson Allen gets a lot more minutes available on the wing. I think he looks pretty good at 4,200. And he hit for us the last time that I made that same claim when Beal was out. So I would go there again. Kevin Durant revenge game. Kevin Durant's too good for revenge or even playing hard when he's playing the Wizards in his home area in the DMV. So for Durant, I really don't think the revenge stuff against Brooklyn would matter very much. Booker, nobody's going to play him very much on the slate. Ceiling is there for both him and Durant at low ownership, but really should be a low-paced game. Not a great spot overall. Not a lot to love here, I think, in this spot. Really, unless you get Beal out, then Grayson Allen, getting more of him would look good. Detroit, you got 115.5 implied points. Atlanta, you got 119 implied points. A lot of Detroit ownership, both for the field and for me as of right now. 26% ownership in my top 150. I'd actually see if Stokastic has updated projections too, because if I can give better data, I would like to. No, still no updates. I guess good thing I updated my minutes. I didn't wait for them, but it is difficult, man, doing rotations and stuff. That's why I'm very comfortable adjusting rate data and stuff. Adjusting minutes is like, you really question yourself a lot in a way that I would not be comfortable with. That's why they have a team of people doing it, and both Unabated and Stokastic. Cade Cunningham, 38% exposure in my top 150 compared to the field's 26% exposure. As I mentioned, he's my favorite pay-up option right now. Still think being more responsible, getting more, a little bit, well, I guess for me, getting less Cade, for you guys maybe getting more, but leveling out him, leveling out basically the highest dollar guys, SGA as well. I would even throw Ants into that group. I would probably throw, well, I'm not crazy about Trae Young, But really, like, the point is, like, there's concentrated ownership for LaMelo, SGA, and Cade. They're all going to be about 20 to 30% owned. I would favor Cade, but really the responsible thing to do would be try to get level amounts of them all and hope that one of them hits and you have the right lineup around it. So that's sort of that approach today. They're all just projected too closely. Tobias Harris right now, 38% of the field on him. I don't really get why. I have him 5 fantasy points lower than Stokastic at 32.1. Certainly some more opportunity going around with Jaden Ivey out, but the price tag at 5,600, I think, counts for that already. I got him in 15%. If I'm going to get less Tobias Harris, sure, I have no issue with that. Jalen Duren, same thing. I have him as an okay projection, 5.2x value. Guys, you don't know, that's Darius Garland. How do you not know Darius Garland? Two in the thoughts. Come on. But he is, again, a priority play for me, as I mentioned, top value. Yeah, so Detroit, just a lot of ownership here, more than you would think. Obviously, a nice spot against Atlanta, gaining about 3.5 possessions, let's say, going into the spot versus Atlanta, who plays at a higher pace. Decent total as well. Like, I get wanting some exposure here, but I'd rather have Cade Cunningham, I think, out of this group. Like, Tobias, I'm never crazy about. I don't get why Stokastic has these guys so high, to be honest. I am higher on Beasley, though, 28% or 28 projection for me, compared to a 25-point projection for Stokastic, getting him 21% compared to the field's 9. But really, like, Detroit feels kind of overowned in the spot. Like, these guys are appropriately priced. There's no injury thing that's making some crazy value opening up. It's just a pretty good matchup. So, like, favor your high usage guys, I would say. Favor Cade, I guess favor Duren, though I'm not buying the the big upside he's had lately occurring very often. With Stewart still there, obviously. Tobias playing good minutes, but I don't know. Like, honestly, like a Tim Hardaway hitting in 30 minutes and having a low projection, I think you take that shot more than this much Tobias Harris. It's so much Tobias Harris. Atlanta, Trae Young, Jalen Johnson questionable right now, Trae Young probable. So if Jalen Johnson were out, Trae Young would look better. Still think Trae Young not too terribly well projected for me in the spot. Pace down, losing some possessions. Trae Young himself only averaging 1.25 fantasy points per minute. With Jalen Johnson coming back in, you're not really priced for that either. So not really sold on the Trae Young side of things. I have about a third of the field's ownership. Jalen Johnson, a little bit higher, but basically flat with the field. Okongwu getting him in about a third of lineups. I like that for right now. Certainly we'll get some more Gafford coming up. We got nobody else to really highlight here. Bogdan Bogdanovic going to be owned a little bit. I don't think Atlanta's a crazy great play either going against Detroit. Detroit's defense, basically league average, a little bit worse than that. If you get Jalen Johnson out, it certainly open things up more. But if Trae Young is in, all these other guys are in. Okongwu looks good, I think, with him getting starter minutes. But even that, I feel like they could jerk that back around if they wanted to. Tobias has been better with no Ivy. I pulled Tobias's rates with no Ivy this year. They're not really shown an appreciable jump up. He's only averaging 0.88 fantasy points per minute. At his price tag, I don't know what you're really getting out of that. Obviously, you can look at the smaller sample size recently and say it's going up, but not sure about that. Is Okongwu getting expensive? He's 5,600. You can see the price tag right here. It's 5,600. He's fine. He's getting more expensive, I guess, but he's still, I think, appropriately priced. Obviously, I'm getting him in the third of lineups. I think that's an appropriate price tag. Minnesota, 109 implied points. Dallas, 105.5. Lower pace spot here, but technically a pace up spot for Minnesota. Anthony Edwards getting him in 19% of my lineups, as I mentioned. Just trying to target that upside between the group of guards where none of them really project that highly. There's no Jokic on the slate. There's no Giannis on the slate. There's no Wemby on the slate. It's just a bunch of guards that project around 50 fantasy points. So take a shot at Edwards here. Less so for Randall. Got him at 3% of my lineups compared to the field's 13. Naz Reid, flat with the field, basically at about 10%. Rudy Gobert, I've been low on this entire year. He's been kind of a shitty performer at 0.86 fantasy points per minute. When you account for the matchup with Dallas, which admittedly is a different Dallas team without Luke out there, and also Lively too to some extent. Still, spot here where you're not expecting a ton of rebounding success necessarily. That Gobert, spot like versus Washington where he was actually okay within the last week. Price tag for Gobert is pretty good at 5,400, and Dallas, I think, a blockable team, so I get it for Gobert, but I don't really need him. Jaden McDaniels, getting him a lot at 5K. I don't know why. I don't know why I have him for 29 fantasy points. That's so much. Why? There's nothing I did to his numbers either. I didn't give him any rate boost or anything. I would guess it's just stocks going his way more. Stocks plus rebounds plus a little bit of just, general per category contribution. But I have him at 0.83 fantasy points a minute. He plays 35 minutes a game or so I can live with that. Rather jump on a trampoline of Legos and play Tobias. I mean, look, he's a reasonable price tag. There's always a price tag you can play anybody. But like Tobias being owned by 40% of the field would be a little bit aggressive. I assume that'll level out, though, when they update the projections. But that's Like, that's a crazy amount of Tobias Harris, but they have a crazy projection on Tobias too. Anyway, McDaniels would be a big stand for me, I guess, over Tobias to some extent. Dallas, 105.5 implied points on their side. You got no Luka, no Derek Lively, who is going to be, he's still questionable on the injury report last time I looked, but he's supposed to be out for a couple months with his foot injury. Beekman scheduled to start. All right. Are you sure about that? Are you saying that, or is Underdog Alert saying that? Would be what I would like to know. I'm not seeing an Underdog. I don't think, who's projecting him to start? If you're going to tell me a fucking gambling site, if you're going to say FanDuel or something, I'm going to fucking kill you. But no, I don't think Beekman's going to be projected to start. So no. Unless you have a credible source, let me know. Otherwise, I don't think that's likely. We talked about that game already. Dallas, nothing here looks that great for me. I think I'll get more Daniel Gafford when Stokastic updates their stuff a little bit more, where I could get Gafford more in lineups. Didn't you just do the same thing a couple weeks ago and get it wrong? I don't need this. I'm sorry. Your source is seldom wrong. Okay. Well, we'll believe it when I see it. Fucking hate this shit, man. Besides that, people would just come into the fucking chat, and I'm not saying go flies, but I'm pretty sure you were the one who was wrong the other week about somebody starting. And somebody else was wrong and said, "Oh, my source saying," and they were fucking dead wrong about it. You guys in the chat say shit so confidently sometimes, and I'm like, maybe. Like, you're always often wrong. Like, I mean, no disrespect. I'm sure some of you guys are right more often than not. But Jesus Christ. That was it. It was the Pacers power forward. He was like, oh, fucking Jarris Walker's going to start. That's it. Sources say I have a 22-inch dong. Yeah, sources are always very reputable. But yeah, sources weaker than ever in 2025, weaker than ever in this chat. But when people get offended too, if I'm like, I question things in chat. Like, one guy was dead wrong before and got so mad at me. And he was like, well, why would you question me? And I'm like, because you were wrong. And like, I know, like, anyway, that's what that guy says. Anyway, Dallas turning into, I've been like Engelman for years. I'm just a little bit less abrasive. I don't respect anybody's takes besides my own generally. I think that's pretty obvious. Well, besides, Unabated and Stokastic, I take their data. But like shit, people just saying shit out their ass in a YouTube chat. Like, no disrespect, you got to earn. If Robert Griffin III has earned me knowing like he's credible. For you guys out there, if you're in the chat every day and you say smart stuff, then I'm like, oh yeah, it's a smart guy. If you're just some fucking random asshole coming in, if I saw somebody in the street too who's like, Reese Beekman's gonna start, I'd be like, first of all, why are you yelling me about Reese Beekman? Second of all, I'd be like, well, who are you? Why do we believe that? So that's it. You, as this job here, this role or whatever I play and other hosts out there play, you should be questioning everything because your job is to give people legit info and credible info. So that's the goal. Anyway, Dallas, besides the stuff we talked about already, which is not a lot, Gafford looks okay. I'll certainly get more. Thank you. That's right. I'm never wrong. Exactly. I won't even take that as sarcasm. That's true. No, I'm wrong too. But my job is to try to be as right as possible, as often as possible, or at least, use information that's real and not just some dude. So that's how that goes. Najee Marshall, 23% exposure for my top 150. He's questionable right now. If he does go, I have him playing 30 minutes. So that's a good thing for him. Basically, would think that he wins out if Gafford gets less minutes. And even if Gafford plays the same amount of minutes, it's going to be good. As I mentioned up top here, my Gafford projection, I gave him 30 minutes. He played 33 last game. A little more minutes risk here going against OKC because they can go small against you or make it tougher. Actually, no, not OKC. Sorry. Think about the Thunder. Thinking about rather this matchup versus Gobert, kind of the same thing rather when you're going against an OKC, where you can just go small against them, and that's another way to try to beat them. Go against a center like Gobert. So for Dallas, I think that's very possible they do that way. A little bit of a risk for Gafford. That's basically it. Clark was not optimal. That's true. Love this fucking channel. Show up and give us some good feedback. Take it or leave it. That's up to us. Thank you. I mean, if you want to fade everything too, knock yourself out. 5 people rejected to start for Brooklyn today per your source. See, that I'll buy. I think that's a strip. You're earning credibility each one you get right. Charlotte, 114.3 implied points. Memphis, 126.3. As I mentioned, I'm low on LaMelo, still getting 16% of my top 150. My projection, though, is about 5 points lower. Gave him the rate boost that he normally gets without Brandon Miller. Without Brandon Miller, LaMelo this year is averaging, where are we at? Oh, you know what? I pulled in, I actually hand managed the rates for this one because I really wanted to get LaMelo up higher, and I still couldn't. But the biggest beneficiary of Brandon Miller not being on the court is Miles Bridges. His usage rate gets up to about 28%. He does a little bit more assist-wise as well. So for the spot for Charlotte, Ben Simmons is doubtful. So that's that. You're only human and we make great pets. That's true. Tamagotchis are better than humans because they don't actually shit. So for the spot for Charlotte, my guess is that Bridges benefits more. As a result, I'm getting a little bit more Bridges. I got him at 23% in my top 150, compared to the field 17. A LaMelo, 16%, a little bit under on him, compared to the field's 21. Not really big stands, but that little flip here could mean the difference for some amount of lineups I'm going to get today. And I'm okay getting more Bridges than LaMelo, just kind of has a little bit of leverage. Mark Williams, as always, I've ridden him all the way to the top, and I guess I'll ride him back down. Pause, I'm sure, for somebody out there. Mark Williams looking pretty good for me, 76% exposure in my top 150 compared to the field's 39%. Nick Smith, we talked about as a value, 45% of the field. I got him at 47. Don't think he's a smash play. Think you could probably do just as well. Looking to find another value around 3K to 3,600 and take your shot. But he's going to play mid-20s minutes most likely, averaging 0.79 fantasy points a minute. Nick Smith, not a bad play today. Thank you for that, Steven. Do a good job of my stuff. Gonna have a different opinion, but at least be respectful. Crazy guy. Oh, that's it. I mean, the thing is, like, I get it. I don't respect people either, but that's like part of my job, trying to be entertaining while doing this. Otherwise, it's just me reading Excel sheets and being dry. And I think we probably have enough of those people in the space doing that. But I appreciate it by Steven, of course, and all you guys being here. Can we stop pretending that Brooklyn has any value ever? Even when they're shorthanded, sometimes they score points like 91. See, that's fair, but that's the take that like casual players have, and it's not meant to be disrespectful to you, but like we talk about it all the time, and we've been right about it so many times on stream, is like shows the thing where like, oh, Jaime Jaquez sucks, some guy says when Butler's out, and it's like, it doesn't matter. Like Butler's not there. You're vacating a ton of potential points, ton of possessions, ton of potential rebounds, assists, like every stat. I'm just listing stats at this point. Like that's what DFS is like there's a hole to fill. Here I have the solution of players here that comes in with that. So like Brooklyn, as people are saying, Brooklyn plays slow. The totals aren't the highest, but like that's not the way to think about DFS. Like DFS is like an asset allocation game, and you want to allocate your assets where there's a lot of opportunity. Orlando yesterday, like I finished top 5 in a qualifier for the World Fantasy Basketball Championship, just because like I wanted to get one more lineup in, and I thought I had a good read on a lineup, and I wanted to make a pivot off of it. Ended up finishing 5th there, and it was like, okay, it was only first place that advanced to the qualifiers. That sucked. Point being, like, built a really good lineup where it was just Orlando value. It was like, I think 5 guys from Orlando, Anthony Black, KCP, Silva, or De Silva rather, Banchero, and I didn't have Traveling Queen in that one. So it might have been 4 guys from Orlando, but it's like, that's what you do because Orlando's missing Franz Wagner. They're missing Suggs. They're missing Goga Bitadze. Like, you just want guys to fill in and take that production that's left behind. Sometimes production doesn't hit, but like, that's the whole point of DFS. Like, that's sort of it. Memphis, 126.3 implied points. A lot of Santi Aldama for me at 4,800. Obviously, the salary works well. I'm projected about 2.8 fantasy points higher than Stokastic does. Desmond Bane going to be owned a good amount here, 20.5% ownership for the field. I got him at 17. Morant, 10% compared to 5% for me. Jackson, 8% compared to 3% for me. Not really big stands in favor of anything here for Memphis besides Aldama, whose price tag I think works pretty well. But it is a soft matchup. Down pace spot for sure going against Charlotte, who does play slow, but not well. So high total for Memphis. You want to play Morant? I have no issue with it. Morant going head-to-head with Ball. If you're going to play LaMelo lineup, I think it looks pretty good at 8,500. The issue for Morant is like he had that one game where he got to high 30s minutes. After that, he hasn't gotten there again. But, it's possible he could spike again minutes here. It's just when he's playing 28 minutes, it's hard to trust the upside reliably because he has to produce really well per minute, which he does do often enough. But 10% owned feels about right given that. Took 5K last week on a night slate where I ran Sharp from Brooklyn. It was only a 2-gamer, though. There you go. I mean, look, that's another spot. And shout Ryan here. Appreciate you, Spags, even though I hate FanDuel. I do. I don't gamble on it. So what am I going to do? I gamble on things I know. And that's why. That's the same thing we're talking about, the information thing. Like, know the things you need to know, sort of the approach. Cleveland, 115 implied points here. A lot of Darius Garland for me. As I mentioned, he's a big beneficiary. Outproduces Donovan Mitchell per minute, though he has played more minutes overall in court time without Evan Mobley. But Evan Mobley being out is the big thing here. If you get Karis LeVert out as well, going to be more minutes to go around in the wing, more production to go around, with LeVert producing about 0.92 fantasy points a minute on the year. I like Cleveland a good amount today. Houston is a down pace spot, tough defense, but still a good enough total here for Cleveland's 115 implied points. So Garland is a priority play, best player overall without Mobley. LeVert, the field's at 33%. I'm at 28. Obviously, if he doesn't play, that'll go down. But decent value overall for him at 4K. And point guard, shooting guard, projected to play 25 minutes. Jarrett Allen filling in more for Mobley. He'd be the most logical play to go to. A lot more rebounds, a lot more block opportunities, a lot of shots around the rim to go to that are not going to go Mobley's way. And Donovan Mitchell, I think, is your tournament play. There's going to be 15% owned, it looks like. So I got him at 9. He just doesn't project that well for me. Garland, the big winner. Mitchell, not even that far ahead. Jared Allen. But Mitchell this morning projected to be like 5% owned. I would love them a lot more at that amount. But Garland's better value, being 1K cheaper. And frankly, these guys producing pretty 1-to-1 on the year. Houston, 113 implied points will make up some time here. The only guy I have any of is Cam Whitmore. Besides that, even Şengün, I'm not getting much of today. They're a full-strength team. Everybody appropriately priced. Amin Thompson up to 8K, so his 40 minutes a game, you kind of need him to hit and also be great for him to pay off that price tag. Houston, to me, it's not a team you want to go to unless somebody gets rolled out last minute. But, a little bit of Whitmore as a value. Tari Eason, not really a value. If you wanted to go there, though, I'd get it. Şengün, Amin Thompson's tournament plays. I prefer Şengün. But that's basically it for Houston. Utah, not a lot of exposure coming here for me because you are getting Marketing back in. Keontae George, Walker Kessler. Kessler, I thought I would get more of. I'm projected for 35 fantasy points. Stokastic has him for 28.4. That said, I am not really getting any Walker Kessler at all. He rebounds like a crazy amount more for some reason when Clarkson's off the court. I don't know why that would possibly be, but the rates go up for him a little bit from Clarkson not being out there. You also have Bryce Sensabaugh, who I do like a lot. He's out for Utah today. They're playing OKC. They should get their ass kicked, but Kessler getting rebounds at the rim against Jalen Williams, who was not an impressive big man. I'm going to be crazy overall. Easton Largefield only. Yes, I would agree with that. I get into PJ Washington. I don't think I was. He didn't project that well for me today. Yeah, 29.3 compared to 29.9. Yeah, I think Stokastic had him with a few more minutes. I don't know why they would, though. But if you get into like mid-30s minutes, it'll look a little bit better, but I'm not there. And yes, Easton Largefield only. Okay, we got Oklahoma City on their side. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, Jalen Williams, questionable right now. No Collins, unfortunately. That's sad. Jalen Williams, he looks good if he plays. I'm at 36% of my top 150 compared to the field's 24. Obviously, if he doesn't play, SGA is going to look better. You'll probably get more Aaron Wiggins in court time, I would guess. But really, the entire rotation ends up getting a few more minutes to be it. Dort would look better. The other big Jalen Williams, large Jalen Williams would look better. So really, Jalen Williams being questionable right now does matter quite a bit for the slate, especially that really high team total of 124.3. If you take Jalen Williams out of the rotation and spread his minutes around, everybody's going to look pretty well projected here. And SGA is already chalk, so I think SGA would become super chalk. I think center Jalen Williams get played a lot more. Fields at 10%. I'm at double that right now. But if Jalen Williams plays at 8,200, he's a little bit too cheap. So right now, I'll probably, assuming we don't get news about Jalen Williams being in or out, I'll probably just play him with whatever amount I'm going to get. And then if I could swap off of them, I'll try to do that. But really, it's a little bit tough because this is your last game on the main slate. So what other games go at the same time frame? So this is an 8 o'clock game, Utah OKC. You'll have Cleveland, Houston, and Charlotte, Memphis going at the same time. So if you keep some OKC ownership here, you'll be able to swap around with Jalen Williams at that same time frame. There's going to be enough games to go around there. And if you had to, you could just swap from Jalen Williams to Amin Thompson, ideally at a forward spot, and then you could get there. Amin Thompson, shooting guard, small forward. Let's help out a little bit. And here's your FanDuel, guys. Golden State, I'm not going to talk about it, but you have no Draymond, no Kuminga. As a result, all the guys look a little bit better here, but not good enough. Wiggins would be my priority relative to value. Trace Jackson-Davis also okay. Sacramento, not a lot to love here. Fox and Monk, I think, appropriately priced for the DK late slate. Sabonis a little bit too expensive. Boston, you have Q tags on Horford and Drew Holiday. Reports from Boston beat guys where they expected them not to play this game. So that's something that hasn't been announced yet, but could move the projections around quite a bit. You'd get more Luke Cornett, I believe. You'd get more Derek White. You'd get more Peyton Pritchard as well. And Porzingis is a Q tag as well. So I'd watch out for this one because it seemed like they were going to probably sit Drew Holiday and Horford today and then play them on the back-to-back they have tomorrow versus the Lakers. So that's one that matters for FanDuel people, not for the DK main slate. And the Clippers here, again, James Harden questionable. The minutes are off here. I didn't have time to fix this up enough with Powell and Dunn getting ruled out. But Harden, I would think, would look good, and that's that. I hope we're not doing a bit. Yes, I had 2 dogs, and they both unfortunately had to get put down. So thank you for bringing that up, Sven. Thanks for bringing up the pressing news. On that note, let's go to Unabated, where dogs live forever, dreams can come true. Learn about Unabated's conditional NBA projections right now with this very special instructive video. I don't like getting triggered about your dog dying. We're going to have to do a bit read here. Fucking unbelievable. Anyway, you got a bunch of different numbers here. Of course, the betting data sheets you see on screen here, very important for reading lines. Of course, conditional projections. Guys are in, guys are out. They have different projection sets for the both of them. How important, how special is that? Real-time NBA news. Everybody's leaving Twitter. You don't have to be on Twitter anymore. You just go to Unabated, get Discord alerts, which is much easier. Grass! Oh, God, we got this grass. We got to yell grass. Grass. Yes, please. Go win on Unabated for the dead dogs out there. Please. Fucking unbelievable. Sounds like somebody on stream. Unabated from a good splash. Check it out. There we go. Here's the screen for you. It's like I was doing a show with Josh the other day, or I guess a couple weeks ago, and somebody like made it like somebody's being a troll and made a joke about like Josh's mom or whatever. And it's like both Josh's parents passed away in fairly tragic fashion, and it's like you can't fucking just say shit. Like you can't just say things. People's lives change over the course of years of doing content. So that'd be my take as a person who has some emotional intelligence. No, I can tell you they do. I can tell you dogs, in fact, do. And it's, in fact, very sad. And you have their ashes and whatever. Maybe even got a picture that an artist drew of your dogs and your cat together. It's a very thoughtful gift from your in-laws. Doesn't bring the animals back, though. You got nobody's scratch. Yeah, I got to pet my kid's head now. That's all I got. And they are eating the dogs. The fucking immigrants ate my dogs. That's the bad news. They came into town. That was it. We got top EVs right now for points bets. We got Moses Moody under 11.5 points. Unabated's conditional projections. 14.6% EV at minus 113 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. You can still probably bet it on DK Sportsbook if you want, under 11.5 points for Moses Moody. Minus 130 odds there. The Moses Moody under is looking good on your FanDuel and DraftKings Sportsbook. A little bit less so on the Pick'em sites. Noah Clowney over 13.5 points, minus 105 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Gets a 12.9% EV there. Pick'em sites, not as good. Okay on DraftKings as well. Same minus 105 odds, over 13.5 points for Noah Clowney. See, the Nets have value, guys. When there's players missing, players have value. Very important to keep that in mind, apparently. LaMelo Ball over 27.5 points, plus 100 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook, gets you 12.7% EV from Unabated's numbers. Everywhere else, not really in play, so play LaMelo Ball over 27.5 points on FanDuel Sportsbook if you can. Nick Claxton over 10.5 points, minus 110 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook, 11% EV on that one for FanDuel. Also bettable on DK Sportsbook, where it's over 10.5 points for Nick Claxton at minus 115 odds. So Nick Claxton over is looking good. And again, the same principle we're talking about here. When guys are out of lineups, their lines are usually a little bit efficient. Their DFS salary is a little bit inefficient. These are the core principles of DFS here that I guess maybe sometimes takes a while to learn for some folks. Zach Edey under 7.5 points. And not saying to be disparaging, it is like just really the core thing of DFS. It's like somebody doesn't take an apple away, all of a sudden there's more apples. That's their basic fucking elementary school math stuff. Sources say Josh will make multiple errors and mistakes about injuries and who's in or out today on. Okay, I don't know if that's true. I don't think so. Josh never really makes mistakes on this stuff, so I would disagree. But I'll take action on it for sure. If it's plus money, I'll take action on it. Zach Edey, and I could also sway that one because I'll be on stream with him, so I can make him get something wrong perhaps and win the bet. That'd be great. Under 7.5 points for Zach Edey, looking good at minus 122 odds, getting you 10.6% EV on FanDuel Sportsbook. Borderline playable on DK Sportsbook, under 7.5 points for Zach Edey there. It's slightly less favorable odds, but Zach Edey looking good on FanDuel Sportsbook, minus 122 odds for under 7.5 points. Keon Johnson under 14.5, good to go at minus 105 odds on DK Sportsbook. Not bettable on Pick'em sites. Pick'em sites lines are all pretty efficient today. But Keon Johnson also good for the under on FanDuel, under 14.5 there at minus 106. Keon Johnson, good on your main sports books. And last but not least, for points bets, we got Amin Thompson under 15.5 points for him. Minus 108 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. It's 10.3% EV. And you don't want it on your Pick'em sites or DK, though. Rebounds up next. We'll still run a DFS sim as well, so stay tuned for that. Let's see what we get. I think we're getting close to somebody getting muted in chat, by the way. We don't need to fuck with people in chat. That's how I feel about it. But that's a warning. Just in general, it's whoever I think that might be talking about, but don't be dicks to each other in chat because I will just kick you out. I don't need it. Jalen Wilson under 4.5 rebounds. Good to go on PrizePicks today. 13.1% EV for Jalen Wilson on PrizePicks. Looking less good, not available on Underdog, and not good enough on your sportsbook. So Jalen Wilson only on PrizePicks under 4.5 rebounds, 13.1% EV. 12.6% EV for under 5.5 rebounds for Desmond Bane today. Looking also good on PrizePicks. So I guess all your EV on PrizePicks is here. Underdog as well, lower on 5.5 rebounds, looking good for Desmond Bane. DK Sportsbook, you could bet it too. Under 5.5 rebounds there at -125. And a little bit less favorable on FanDuel at -130. Under 5.5 for Desmond Bane, but still playable. Keon Johnson over 3.5 rebounds. Good to go on FanDuel with -120 odds. Gets you 12.3% EV. Bettable as well on DK Sportsbook for Keon Johnson over 3.5 rebounds. -125. Noah Clowney under 5.5 rebounds, 11.7% EV for him. Playing on PrizePicks today. Anywhere else, you're not going to want to bet it. So only on PrizePicks for Noah Clowney under 5.5 rebounds. Oscar Thompson or Osar Thompson, 10.1% EV here under 5.5 rebounds. -135 odds on DK Sportsbook. Not looking good in your pick'em sites, and you probably don't want it on FanDuel. Rob Dillingham, projected to play a good amount of minutes today, 17.5 minutes. Under 1 rebound him here, +124 odds on DK Sportsbook gets you 9.8% EV for Rob Dillingham, who just doesn't do a whole lot out there at this point, unfortunately. No Dotson DiVincenzo, though, so, that does help a little bit. Miles Bridges under 6.5 rebounds for him, +114 odds gets you 9.6% EV on DK Sportsbook. You can also take Miles Bridges under 7 rebounds on PrizePicks, and it would look good there, too. Assists coming up next. That is the rule here. I can be a dick here because that's all for entertainment. It's not real. It's all just a bit. But I don't want it from anybody else. I want kindness, sunshine, rainbows, hugs, kisses. It's really one of the biggest things I want as a content creator. Hugs and kisses, etc. Rudy Gobert. Over 1.5. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. We just got to fill an hour sometimes. Over 1.5 assists for Rudy Gobert. 13.9% EV at +130 odds on DK Sportsbook. Not good anywhere else for Rudy Gobert over 1.5 rebounds. Get it on DK at plus money. Mark Williams over 1. Oh, besitos. Ja, 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 ja. Over 1.5. Part Latina, so we're okay. Over 1.5 here, though. I won't do the part Asian voice. That much I can tell you. Over 1.5 assists, rather, for Mark Williams. He has about a 20% assist rate on the year. He's so good. Love Mark Williams. Over 1.5 assists looking good, though. -118 odds on PrizePicks. 13.7% EV for that. Underdog, no good. DraftKings, FanDuel, no good. Take Mark Williams on PrizePicks if you can. Nick Claxton over 2.5 assists, 11.4% EV today. PrizePicks, also good to go on Underdog. Also good to go on DK. And no clean sweep. It's not available on FanDuel. But take Nick Claxton over 2.5 rebound, or take 1.5 assists, rather, anywhere you can get it. Over rebounds, you can take 2 if you can get that line. Julius Randle under 4.5 assists. Good to go on PrizePicks with 10.3% EV. But you can't get an Underdog. You can take it on FanDuel, though, under 4.5 assists for Randle at -120. Rob Dillingham over 2.5 assists, -130 odds for DK Sportsbooks. You're taking an over for Dillingham here. 8.9% EV on DK Sportsbook for Dillingham over 2.5 assists. Jalen Green over 2.5 at -115 odds. Also gets you 8.4% EV. You probably don't want it on your pick'em sites, though. And LaMelo Ball under 8 assists. Close enough on PrizePicks, 8% EV. Last but not least, PRAs. Get these going. Nick Richards trade fixed Mark, and he's eating good. He is. I mean, he was playing well anyway. He's just now getting more reliable minutes, and they're also not worried about the foot injury, I guess, so they're just trotting him out for more. But he's been producing per minute so fantastically the entire year. And it's leveled out, too, where he was at 1.5 at one point. Now he's at 1.4. It's sustainable enough, I think, with how he's doing it. We got Cam Whitmore under 15.5 PRAs. Good to go on PrizePicks, 12.6% EV on there for Cam Whitmore under 15.5 PRAs. Zach Edey under 15.5 PRAs, -120 odds on DK Sportsbook. Also looking pretty good with 11.7% EV. Kevon Looney, good on PrizePicks, 10.3% EV for over 15.5 PRAs at the usual -118 pick'em odds. We got Oscar Thompson. I say Oscar, it's Osar, whatever. Or under 16.5 PRAs on DK Sportsbook for Oscar Thompson, 9% EV there on DK Sportsbook's -110 odds. LaMelo Ball over 39.5 PRAs. That's a pretty big stand here for FanDuel. Minus 120 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook over 39.5 PRAs. Gets you a rounded up 8% EV. And those are your bets from Unabated. Of course, there's always more all day long. The conditional guys right now, you have a ton of different projection sets for the nine questionable motherfuckers. Too many questionable guys, but Unabated gives you the projection sets. If they're in, if they're out, you can make different sets off that. You also can pivot quickly for DFS lineups if you want to do some late swap stuff. And sometimes I could say, look, I love Stokastic. Sometimes they're just slow enough that it fucks up the entire process. It makes it hard to do. For Unabated, they already have them preloaded and ready to go. For guys that are Q tags that we know as we're going down the slate. So just keep that in mind. Really big advantage to using Unabated. And of course, a great product and the simulation tool will win you money. Very confident in that. They show you their ROIs. They show you their work. Check it out, Unabated. Promo code SPLASH. Link in the description. Do all that. All right. DFS sim time. And they still haven't updated their projections. I don't know. Stokastic taking a little day off here, just hanging out. I know they're going to update it at some point. I'm confident they will before I do the deeper dive. But really making it hard to get a read on what their minutes think. I don't think they know what to do with Brooklyn, would be my guess. Don't understand how something is EV when there's news to wait for. So basically, if you have the conditional projection, you rule a guy in, let's say, and you simulate the expected value, you then be simulating for that guy. So like, let's say this guy today who's questionable. Today, Jalen Williams. So Jalen Williams lines might not be efficient right now because people have been betting unders because they're idiots, moving the price a little bit or whatever the case may be. But if he plays, then he might have a plus EV bet right now. And if he gets voided, if he doesn't play, you're just not going to get charged the bet. So that's how you do that for the inside. For the outside, ideally what you'd want to do is like, a guy's not going to play. The markets haven't caught up to it. So let's say Derek Lively's in the projection set. We know he wasn't going to play, but they didn't update the injury report correctly. You then take him out of the projection set, bet some Daniel Gafford lines that are going to look plus EV because they're not priced for that situation of Lively not playing. That's sort of how you would handle the guys being in and out part. But for the DFS part, it would just be like, they have them preloaded already. So if Klay Thompson doesn't play today, you'll have Mavs projections with Klay Thompson already out. And that's sort of the helpful part. But that's the best way to explain it. I hope that helps. As always the case here, I'll try to explain things, but we talk about the complicated concepts in gambling, and it's not easy to always simplify things as best I can. But let me know if you have more questions, I guess. And guys, if you get value out of the stream, again, I will do the best I can, as always, to talk about things earnestly and helpfully. Unless you're being a dick, then I won't. Please subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Of course, I'm just one guy here running an NBA channel and an NFL channel. Today, I had to prep rookie wide receiver stuff and then hop over to the NBA, do that, write articles, do that preparation with data, all that, running rotations. It's a lot of work, guys, but I love it. I hope that shows through here every day. And for you guys out there, if you do well, it's also great to hear too. So leave a comment. Let me know how things are going for you if you're trying NBA DFS more. And, please support the channel. That's really the earnest take on that. And sponsors too. Support the sponsors. It helps me do the show. Stokastic, 15% off. The tools and data you're going to see on screen here, they're all 15% off. Link in the description down below. You can see the full menu of stuff. Unabated, $30 off. Promo code SPLASH. Again, great tools and NBA DFS projections they have now. And Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash with promo code SPLASH. So build some of the pick'ems with the data you saw on screen here. At least, I don't have a PrizePicks code. A PrizePicks should pay me, I think, would be nice. Top 150 lineups right now. We're going to favorite them. We're going to get some overall trends. Let's look at the number one ROI lineup right now. 179.5% ROI for this top lineup here of Ty Jerome, Anthony Edwards, Cam Whitmore, Tobias Harris, Day'Ron Sharpe, Darius Garland, Jalen Williams, and Mark Williams. So double Williamses. We got Trae Young, Nick Smith, Cam Whitmore, Tobias Harris, Jalen Duren, Darius Garland again, Miles Bridges, Mark Williams again. So two of my favorite plays Stokastic seems to agree on, Darius Garland and Mark Williams. And Ty Jerome stuck in the number one lineup. Number 3, Trae Young, Nick Smith, Najee Marshall, Tobias Harris, Isaiah Stewart. So there's your value for that part. LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, and Jalen Duren. So a little bit of a Hornets stack there. And Trae Young, more Trae Young than I would have expected. Trae Young in this one too. Trae Young, Karis LeVert, Nick Smith, Tobias Harris, Jalen Williams with a Y, LaMelo Ball, Santi Aldama, who I did get a good amount of, and Mark Williams. The Trae Young stuff I'm kind of baffled by. There's a lot of Trae Young. Number 5 lineup is Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Asar Thompson, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Williams. With so many Jalens. Ty Jerome. Can we sneak in the other Jalen Williams just to give us 3 Jalens? Tobias Harris, Mark Williams here. So another Ty Jerome lineup. Garland again. Way more Trae Young than I would have thought. Respectable amount of Nick Smith, I think, would be my observation. A little more Jalen Williams, the Y. than expected, but I think he projects well enough. So that's how it's looking. If you got a minute impact on your quest to creating the channel, and I greatly appreciate you following through. I think you brought it up. I mean, look, what had the most impact was Unabated saying, yeah, we'll pay you for that. So that's my big thank you. But I, of course, appreciate people following me along here to the NBA world. Your top ROI players right now, and we actually have some positive ROI guys. Day'Ron Sharpe, 5.5% ROI at a $4,800 salary. Would not play 100%. Just be like, this is rule number one of DFS. Day'Ron Sharpe and Nick Claxton take away from the same pool of minutes. Do not play them together in a lineup. That's the first thing. Sharpe, though, if he siphons minutes away from Claxton, it'll look better. Does a back-to-back. Sharpe barely played yesterday, too. So I get it, I guess. It's a lot of Sharpe, though. A lot of Sharpe ROI, rather. Jalen Williams of the Y, your number 2 ROI guy, rounded up 5% here. Good spot versus Utah. He's probably going to be getting more rebounds today because he's going to be naturally competing against Walker Kessler a little bit more. Certainly could knock down some threes, do all that stuff. So that's basically that. We got Najee Marshall, rounded up 5% ROI as well for him. Again, he's questionable, but going to get good minutes and certainly would get more minutes if Daniel Gafford played less in that spot where they probably might, well, there's a decent shot they might go 5 wide out there and not go with a center. So that would certainly help things out more to get more minutes for Najee Marshall, less minutes for Gafford. Cam Whitmore, 4% ROI for him. He's a decent value overall. And we got LaMelo Ball, 0.4% ROI for him. So positive ROI. Miles Bridges not too far behind. Mark Williams not too far behind. A lot of Charlotte versus Memphis, which is a pace-up spot. Pretty high total game, but Memphis could certainly kick their ass if things align right. Overall exposure to the top 150, you're getting a lot of Mark Williams, 64% of him compared to the field's 59. Darius Garland, 58% compared to the field's 51. LaMelo Ball, 49% compared to the field's 21. Jalen Duren, 41% compared to the field's 24. And Karis LeVert, 40% compared to the field's 32.5. So some decent stands there. The Garland one I agree with. The Mark Williams one I very much agree with. That's all good. Your highest leverage guys. And also, I'm not late for Stokastic, right? I'm pretty sure their stream is at 5:30 today, but I'm going to make sure real fast here because I do like getting paid for that work. Okay, it's at 5:30. We're good. We're on a little bit slow here today because of the projection shit making me late. Your highest leverage guys, we've got Darius Garland, 29% leverage for him. LaMelo, 27% leverage compared to the field. Mark Williams, 25%. Jalen Williams with a Y, 24.3%. Tobias Harris. Stokastic loves Tobias Harris. 60% Tobias Harris compared to 37. That is so much Tobias Harris. Whew. Boys, I got to tell you, I don't agree. I don't agree with this one at all, but they love these for sure. Late starts a little annoying. Yeah, thank you guys for telling me I'm good. I appreciate you guys checking as well. Yeah, late starts, I don't mind because I get out of well, Alex is here for today. Alex is actually going on a bachelor party or bachelor party. That'd be awful if my wife were going on a bachelor party. Going to the bachelorette party, like cruise to Mexico tomorrow. So she's here today. She's doing the kids' bath today. So I can thankfully have some coverage for the 7:30 start time. More than I usually get, where I have to do it in between. Like if there's guys getting injured and shit and rolled out, I have to swap while Luca's taking a bath. It's not my favorite thing in the world. Oh, you're not doing Tobias Harris? He's handsome. He's handsome. Got SGA. Negative leverage on SGA. 11% exposure to the top 150 lineups for Stokastic data. And again, my projections have no influence on this. It's just their data, their sim, all that. But negative 19% leverage there for SGA compared to the field's 29.4%. We got negative 14% leverage on Jared Allen, who really does feel like he should be kind of an easy button play going against Houston. Going to need to have a big out there for sure for Cleveland. A lot more rebounds and block opportunities to go around without Mobley out there. I don't love the Allen fade. Like he doesn't project super well for me, but I think he's like got nice ownership and kind of a tournament play. Stokastic disagrees. Rudy Gobert, barely getting any of him. I'm on the same page with that. Negative 13% leverage. Cade Cunningham, negative 12% leverage compared to the field's 25% ownership. I'm high on Cade right now, so I would disagree with that as well. Lou Dort, 13% for the field, and they're getting you negative 11% leverage. That would certainly change if Jalen Williams were out. Of course, J-Dub, Jalen Williams, not the center, Jalen Williams. Donovan Mitchell, negative 10% leverage for him. He doesn't project that well for me, but I do think he's also kind of decently owned leverage against the chalk Darius Garland. And Tim Hardaway Jr., negative 10% leverage for him. He'll be played by about 11% of the field at 4K salary, shooting guard, small forward. He doesn't project well, so I get it, but like he's getting decent minutes and they're playing Atlanta. Like I think Tim Hardaway Jr., and he's not been as good a producer as Tobias Harris, but they're plays for the same reason. You're expecting them to be a lot better against Atlanta. And Hardaway's at least cheaper and less owned. I don't know. I don't think that's that bad. Jalen Green, a good play tonight, or match versus Cavs too much? He's not a priority play for me or anything. I'll see what I have him projected at. Houston overall, I think the prices are kind of tight for these guys because they've all played fairly well lately. Jalen Green, I would have as being a 4x value, so I probably wouldn't go there because you have Van Vliet back in. He's had some of the outlier days lately without Van Vliet. If you got somebody ruled out here, it would help out a lot, but I probably wouldn't chase Jalen Green up the price ladder too much. So that's the show, guys. Of course, I'll give you my splash plays in a moment. But one last pandering, guys, trying to get to that 1,000 subs here. There's a lot of people who watch the channel and aren't subscribed right now. And of course, it goes a long way for me here if you do subscribe. So please do that. Subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Leave a comment if you're watching after the fact. I always reply to every comment if you are applying afterwards as well, even amidst doing DFS stuff and family stuff. But that's the premise here. Of course, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. every day, I do a show breaking down my data, looking at some of the top products out there in Stokastic and Unabated, our special sponsors. Check them out. Underdog, $1,000 in bonus cash. Stokastic, 15% off. Unabated, $30 off. All promo code SPLASH. All linked down below in the description. My splash plays for the day. A little bit tough because, again, my minutes I had to really just kind of put together with duct tape before the show. Mark Williams is definitely one no matter what. I think that I feel pretty strongly about. Jalen Williams with a Y, I feel pretty good about as a big man. Like the spot for him going against Utah. I think they're going to be close to the boards enough there with Walker Kessler and what he can do. So I think Jalen Williams a little bit of a better play. I think I'll have a good amount of Mark Williams and Jalen Williams lineups tonight. Definitely whenever I don't play Gafford, who I also think is good, becomes more risk. They could just go 5 guards out there or 4 guards and Maxi Kleber. I think Gafford's another good center play, and those are probably my 3 favorites. The Gafford part, though, I just worry about a little bit. I would watch out for Tosan Evwanman. I think there's a shot he gets good minutes today in the projections. With my projection, I gave him 30 minutes. He looked very good. No guarantee that he gets that amount of run, but I do think that based on what I could figure out with the Nets rotation, a decent shot that he plays at least high 20s minutes. And any other plays I want to highlight? The Williams is at center. Cade I like the most, but as I mentioned, I would flatten it out with SGA and LaMelo. I think Mark Williams, Darius Garland would be my biggest stands here. So the center value talked about. That's it for the slate, guys. Going to be more opens up for sure over the course of the next half hour. Just hang out with me on the deeper dive coming up at 5:30 on the Stokastic channel. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Gamble responsibly, guys, even though it is always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod or at Splash Play NBA, at Splash Play Pod. It's the other channel. I'll see you guys again tomorrow for more. Enjoy your days. Good luck, and see you at 5:30 on the deeper dive, perhaps. Bye-bye.